Well, a very good afternoon from Lloyd, Elsmore Park in Pakuranga. It is now the National Club Baseball Final between Howick Pakuranga, the away team, taking home the home team, the Bayside Wolves, in what is expected to be an absolute classic. Both teams are full of stars that demonstrated their skills over the summer with the Auckland Tuatara. Joining me in commentary this afternoon, one of New Zealand's leading coaches and managers out of Counties Manukau in Mark Irwin. Mark, well, arguably the two best teams in this final, a title. Both teams are desperate to try and win. And of course, Howick Pakuranga, having won 5 previous national titles, looking to try and extend that to 6.
Oh, 100%, Mark. It's they're the two best teams on the day, and they've worked hard to get here, and certainly well deserved. But I think a bevy of stars in both lineups.
Well, let's just run through the starting list for the Howick Pakuranga team. Technically, this is their home ground, but through this tournament, they are the away team. They will be up batting first.
Okay, batting first for Howick Pakuranga, we have Tui Amosa, very young man. Brendan Jones in the 2-hole. Keegan Swanepoel, Randy Yard, Thomas Ryan, Aaron Campbell, John O'Follette, Nate McDonald, Chris Richards.
And Chris Richards, plenty of experience to Aaron Campbell there, the brother of Scott Campbell, arguably New Zealand's most successful domestic player, came within inches of playing professional baseball for the Toronto Blue Jays. But they come up against a team that is very much the side that probably comes in with the narrowest of favouritism, and that is the Bayside Wolves. And we'll have a look at their lineup in one moment, the Bayside Wolves. And boy, you've only got to have a look through that batting order to realise the class, to realise the quality of it, with Andrew Mark, arguably the biggest name in this team.
At the moment, we've got Cameron Yufasalasi, Ingram Ledger, Tana Hakaraya, Jonathan Sinclair, Matthew Sinclair, Finn Harfer.
So in fact, that is the under-16 team. We do apologise for that, as we have the teams come out onto the field getting their traditional welcomes, and we're not too far away from the national anthems, and then we will be into it. And as we've said, the Bayside Wolves, it's technically their home field for this tournament, so they will be pitching first, and Connor Perry on the mound. And the table setters, Howick Pakuranga and Luke Hanson, Faenza Bishop and Chris Richards. So one of the great traditions in baseball, the national anthems. Two teams will come out, and it will be the Bayside Wolves, who are the home team for this tournament, who will pitch and field first. And it will be Howick Pakuranga, who will look to try and get things away to a good start. 9 innings, and it will be Luke Hanson, Faenza Bishop and Chris Richards. They will be the table setters, who will look to try and get Howick Pakuranga, or at least try and get runners on base as we run through our 4 umpires today.
Okay, at home plate today we've got Joshua Wrestler, who was part of the ABL program. At first base we have Warren Van Roonen. At second base we will have Mike Smith, and at third base Mike Vucicek. That's our lineup today.
Yeah, and great opportunity over the summer for the Tuatara for a number of these officials to get experience at that next level up, and very much the ABL. It's not just about development of local and young talent, it's almost an opportunity to develop the technical side of the sport as well. So Connor Perry, he will be on the mound. Tell us a little bit about Connor. We very much know a lot about Elliot Johnston, who will be pitching for Howick Pakuranga in the bottom of the first. What can you tell us about this young man?
Connor's a wonderful young pitcher, another import brought in from the United States. This is Connor's second year. He's actually leading the strikeout tally for the men's regular season. I think he's up at around 140 or just over. So he's had a very strong dominating season, and I think we'll see a bit of that again today.
And interesting too, Henry Laybourne as catcher. We talk about the relationship there. I mean, the catcher is ultimately the one player who, I guess, has done the reconnaissance, who understands what the other team are doing offensively, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and clearly it's a relationship that they need to establish early on between the two of them, the catcher and the pitcher.
100%. I think as a manager in this game, you've got to have full confidence that your pitcher's going into a game with a catcher that they trust, understands them, knows where they are, and also can settle them down when they seem to lose their way a wee bit.
So they get about 8 to 9 pitches on the mound. That mound stands 10 inches above the ground, and they pitch on that angle. And so I'll get you, Mark, just to take us through what you saw yesterday in regards to these two teams making this final this afternoon, because by all accounts there was probably 6 teams that were good enough. North Shore, perhaps somewhat of an upset yesterday, being beaten by Howick Pakuranga.
I think so on paper. I think a lot of people were feeling that way, but Howick Pakuranga pulled out Randy Yard through a great first 4 to 5 innings for them and really got them into that game. It took a while for the bats to fire. But Bayside have pretty much earned their spot. I think they went through a bit of a tired day yesterday. After 4 days, everyone was a bit tired. But I think today's where it all comes to fruition for them.
So Luke Hansen, who has played for the Tuatara, playing at third base today. He is the lead-off hitter in the top of the first. So we are underway. It is the United Airlines 2020 National Club Final between Howick Pakuranga and the Ho team, the Bayside Wolves. And immediately we see Perry just gets that strike on the inside corner of the plate. Foul ball away. Count will immediately go to 0-2. So we find Perry ahead of the count, and arguably also Luke Hansen behind the count. Oh, that's a wayward pitch. He'll just have to shrug that off and get that out of his head very quickly, and suddenly the count goes to 1-2. And I imagine, Mark, it's a little bit of a settling period here. There will be nerves. They are live on Sky Next, and of course it is a final.
Certainly, and being ahead 0-2, sort of went to try something a bit different and lost control of that one.
This time, fastball on the inside. Count goes to 2-2. So we see an example there of Connor Perry, his ability to throw that fastball. He's got plenty of heat. Oh, again, on the inside, just gets away from him and just tags the player. So immediately a runner on base for Howick Pakuranga. We talk about the top 3 just trying to get themselves on base, and then allowing the likes of Randy Yard, Blair Johnston, Keegan Swanepoel to hopefully bring the runners home. And it will be now Faenza Bishop, who's catcher today for Howick Pakuranga, wearing the number 27. So Connor Perry just struggling a little bit with the radar, really, looking for that fast high ball on the inside. Difficult pitch to swing, but also you're dealing with very small margins in terms of finding the strike zone. Again, get some swinging this time.
Yeah, it was a good swing there. Probably struggled a wee bit with that pitch. Still probably high and inside, but tempting the batter for the swing.
So runner on first. The benefit the left-hander Connor Perry has that he's not having to look over his shoulder. He's got Hansen on one, who will be looking to try and steal second. And so Henry Laybourne will be looking to try and pick him off the catcher. Gets him swinging again. And so Faenza Bishop now finds himself behind on the count. 1 and 2, so good comeback here from Connor Perry. Looking to try and settle down. And gets him swinging. Count remains the same, 1 and 2. We've got Chris Richards up next to bat for Howick Pakuranga. Earlier today he won the home run derby. And the runner looks to try and steal second and does it comfortably. So Luke Hanson steals second base, and immediately Howick Pakuranga find themselves with a runner in scoring position.
Yeah, Luke found himself with a good jump there, saw that the ball had got away from Laybourne and Witt in the box and allowed him to move through to second very comfortably.
So 2 and 2 now the count. Got some swinging again on the inside, a pitch he probably didn't have to swing at, but a good comeback from Connor Perry. So, runner on second, 1 out. Chris Richards up to bat for Howick Pakuranga. Pakuranga have won this national title on 5 occasions, looking to try and make it 6. Richards has a look at that first pitch, strike called. So immediately we just start to have a look at Josh Wessler in terms of what his strike zone is. It looks to me anything low could be called a strike. And we'll get a bit of an idea. Every home plate umpire probably has a slightly different interpretation of what their strike zone is. Chris Richards will have to get a read early too in terms of what will be deemed a strike. This time, good little curveball too. So nice little change up there from Connor Perry.
Yeah, it was a good looking pitch there. Nice little off speed, working itself across the plate. Chris just keeping his eye on it.
Richards behind on the count, 0 and 2. Again, just gets away from Perry again. Just struggling a little bit with his control. He's thrown into a little bit of a headwind, I think is probably the best way to describe it. Certainly we in the commentary position are behind the catcher, and we've got that wind behind our back. Richards, he's a patient player. Suddenly that count goes to 2 and 2. Luke Hanson remains still on second base in scoring position.
Yeah, at this level, these batters will find themselves very comfortable at an 0 and 2 count and look to work themselves back into it. A lot of patience shown.
Again, forces Richards to swing. But again, runner advances from second to third. So while the out is called at home plate and Chris Richards strikes out, again, we see Luke Hanson advance from second to third. Now, this changes the dynamic here for Randy Yard. 2 outs, runner on third. And that is a high pop-up ball, and the catch is taken. And so that will bring the inning to a close, and Connor Perry gets himself out of a little bit of difficulty as we head to the bottom of the first, and we will then see the Bayside Wolves have their first at-bat in this United Airlines 2020 National Club Baseball Final. Well, Mark Irwin, let's just, what did you make of that first inning there defensively?
Defensively, not a lot to do initially, but I think they'll all just be finding their feet in this first innings. I think Connor sort of had a great little innings there, finishing off well. But yet to be tested in the field.
And so Elliot Johnston on the mound now. What a player he is for Howard Pakuranga. What a wonderful season he had with the Tuatara. Just came in as a relief pitcher and was just devastating. A real contrast from his first season with the Tuatara to the season we've just seen. A lot of interest in him from overseas. You've seen a lot of this young man, Mark Irwin. What are his strengths? What makes him so effective?
I think his work ethic plays a very big part. I've watched Elliot grow up from a young player here at Pakuranga, and 2 older brothers ahead of him who again were all pitchers, and Elliot's just grown and grown, and during the off-season himself, Kyle Glagoski and some of the other Tuatara players working hard down at the cages, getting their work in.
Well, it's interesting, you see Kyle Glagoski there with the Philadelphia Phillies. Elliot Johnston thinks, well, if he can do it, I can do it. It is a stepping stone. You know, I think from talking to people behind the scenes, there has been the noticeable change in Elliot from one season to the next is that work ethic, doing that supplementary work away from just team trainings. And, you know, I think he took a lot too from Steve Mintz, the Tuatara coach, manager. And so it will be Japanese player Hiromi Sone, who's centre field today for the Bayside Wolves. Bayside Wolves based in St Heliers.
Out of Crossfield Reserve there in St Heliers, out by Sacred Heart College, big school here for rugby in Auckland.
Yeah, very good sporting school indeed, Sacred Heart. So Hiromi Sone, one of a number of Japanese players for the Bayside Wolves, alongside of Ryoto Mori, who was the left fielder. So Elliot Johnston finds himself immediately ahead of the count, 0-1. Foul ball away. The first 2 foul balls, of course, count as strikes. Then after that, in Major League terms, it's just basically a souvenir for somebody in the crowd. Outside, 1-1 the count. Another foul ball away. One thing you tend to see with the Asian players, Mark, is they are very well drilled. They're very orthodox in terms of the way they swing about, the way they throw. Very almost mechanical, but very orthodox.
Extremely great mechanics, very patient, and also bring a lot of strength for not big built people. They command a lot of strength with the way that their mechanics settle in.
Well, he's seen the ball well from Elliot Johnston. He's certainly getting bat on ball. Timing just not quite there at the moment. Johnston won't be panicking. We know just how good he is. Again, he'll be drawing upon that experience that he had with the Tuatara over summer. He got himself into a few little holes that he had to pitch his way out of, and he did that well. And he strikes out his first Hiromi Sone, so a good start from Elliot Johnston. Now Andrew Mark, what a season he had for the Auckland Tuatara, a player who really sort of 12, 15 months ago was out of shape, had to trial to get back into the Tuatara, and for a long part of the season was the leading hitter in the league. and came up with some clutch plays and some clutch moments. The leader of the Speyside Wolves. All going fast inside. So Mark ahead of the count. 2 balls, no strike. Got a bit of a free swing here, really, if he wants it. And Elliot Johnson goes straight down Broadway. So good comeback from Elliot.
Yeah, no, and I think Elliot understands Pinky's strength with the bat and is probably trying to work around that and while still trying to get some command in the zone.
And what is that strength of Andrew, Mark?
Just that outside pitch, I think. Just that outside pitch sitting on the corner of the plate, allowing him to free up his shoulders and just use that power.
Nice little sort of, not quite sure whether that was more of a slider or a curve ball, but again, just on that inside. So the count, and this time Andrew Mark straight to first though, and it will be a simple out. So ground ball to first, and 2 up, 2 down for Elliot Johnston. And Duncan Isaacs batting in the 3-hole today for the Bayside Wolves. Left-handed hitter. We talked about it. We were talking about it before the commentary, Mark. The fact that I think individual pitches will win you a game, but it's depth across the squad that'll win you a tournament. And I wonder whether that will be the difference today. I mean, when you run through the pitching lineups of both the Bayside Wolves and the Howick Pakuranga Hawks, who does have the strength? Who does have the depth in their pitching lineups?
Look, I think they both have the strength. It's just working back on numbers and how arms have pulled up after 5 days and a pretty heavy schedule, double headers first couple of days, and that takes its toll on the teams. But on paper, you know, it'd be very hard to separate. They've both got some serious talent that could take them out today.
So 1 and 2 the count. Duncan Isaacs batting 3-hole for the Bayside Wolves. What they affectionately call a table setter, looking to try and get himself on base. This time, high outside. Count goes to 2 and 2. You are watching the 2020 United Airlines National Club Baseball Final, a local derby between the Bayside Wolves, who have the home field advantage, against Howick Pakuranga. It is the bottom of the first. Elliot Johnston on the mound for the Hawks. So full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Doesn't get the call from Josh Weschler. I think Elliot Johnston somewhat stunned, a little bit dismayed by that. But Duncan Isaacs will take it and finds himself on base. And that will bring Henry Leaborn into the batting box for the Bayside Wolves. And that is one thing, isn't it? You've got to try and get a read too on the home plate umpire. We sort of have talked about it, but they've all got a slightly different interpretation.
100%, and I think Duncan picked up on that early, that Weschler just wasn't quite giving him that ball high, so sat on that, held his patience, and now he's at first base. The measure of a good batter, understanding your umpire early.
Yeah, and again, they'll do their homework on their umpires too. They will be looking back probably over the Tuatara, somewhere where there's a lot of television now, and there's, you know, stuff that has historically been documented. You can go back and get a bit of a read. These teams will be doing a lot of analysis in those areas because you have to, don't you? Elite sport comes down to very, very small percentages. There are some things you can control and there are some things you can't, but getting a bit of a read on umpires is something you can control to a degree.
And it's something we start teaching these players from a very young age.
And you might not like it in terms of the strike zone a home umpire gives you, as long as they're consistent though with both sides, then that's all you can ask for. And we immediately see the runner try and steal second, but he'll have to come back because the ball is a foul ball away. So Isaacs back to first base. And catching today for Elliot Johnston is Faenza Bishop. Bishop got a very good arm on him. So Elliot Johnston. And the runner goes this time. But once again, it is a fly ball, and that will bring the inning to a close. So a fly ball to right field, comfortably taken in the finish by Keegan Swanepoel. And so as we head to the top of the second, it is the Howick Pakuranga Hawks, none, and the Bayside Wolves, none, Mark.
Yeah, certainly. I think HP batters tested the defensive lineup there a wee bit more than what Bayside did in their first innings. But I think these guys, as I said, first innings, finding their feet. And hopefully the fireworks are to come.
It's been an interesting discussion, hasn't it? You know, 9 innings versus 7 innings. The Tuatara saying, look, we want to try and build our audience. We don't believe New Zealand audiences really want to sit any longer than, say, 2.5, 3 hours max. They went to the 7 innings, and that, I guess, caused a little bit of controversy amongst the purists. But I guess one thing 7 innings does do, it puts a lot of pressure early on teams, doesn't it? You've got to score. There's not a lot of time to settle. If you can get yourself on the board early, it certainly puts a lot more pressure on the teams.
100%. It changes the mentality and the way you go into the game. You know you've got to get a good jump, a good start. You're not left with that time at the end to play catch-up. So, no, it certainly does change the mentality for the managers and even the players from 7 to 9 innings.
So, on the mound for the Bayside Wolves is Connor Perry. Looked not quite as settled possibly as what we've just seen from Elliot Johnston, but we know he's a quality player. Working in tandem with Henry Laybourne, their catcher. They've got John Lee at first base, Nick Coe at second base, Duncan Isaacs is the shortstop, Ingram Ledger, son of Gus Ledger, at third base. In the left field for the Bayside Wolves, Ryoto Mori. Centre field, Hiromi Sone, and then Andrew Mark in right field. Good demonstration there of Henry Laybourne's arm as he just throws to Nick Coe at second base. Just want to acknowledge United Airlines, their support of Baseball New Zealand, bringing you this series. Hope you are enjoying the coverage of arguably New Zealand's fastest growing summer sport, the sport of baseball. So,
Blair Johnson up to bat for Howick Pakuranga, brother of Elliot.
Yep, Blair Johnston playing first base today, defensively. But he's batting at 5 in the order, which says to me that they rate him in terms of being a power hitter, the ability to go long. This time it is a high fly ball, and it will bounce into no man's land. And so that is a very good stand-up double indeed from Blair Johnston. Gets himself into scoring position. Immediately just putting the pressure straight back on Connor Perry. This is what Howick Pakuranga do, don't they? They just take any little opportunity and they just turn it into moments. And I think that's the thing when you've got history as a club, you start to believe maybe just a little bit more than those clubs that are maybe here for the first time or trying to create history.
True, and they're a very close unit, this Howick Pack side. They are extremely close, they work hard together, and they play hard together.
Now Keegan Swanepoel, who's been again in and around the Tuatara over the New Zealand summer. Right fielder. Another left-handed pitcher. Batter, strike given this time. So good comeback from Connor Perry. You'll see a number of calls being given from Henry Laybourne, the catcher, and that is because there is a runner on second. That runner does have the ability to pick up the catcher's signals and potentially signal his batter, which is completely legal. And so therefore we tend to have the catcher in the situation throwing 3 or 4 different signals, and clearly Connor Perry will know which one. Next time, good little slider coming in there. Low though, count goes to 2-1. Nice curveball.
Good looking pitch, must have just missed.
Tough call from home plate umpire again. Josh Weschler. It was always a free swing, wasn't it, when the count's 3-1?
Yeah, hitter's count.
Hitter's count indeed. So it goes to now a full count. What does Perry do here? Does he let Swanee Pole hit and rely on his defensive outfit? Or does he look to go down Broadway? He goes straight down Broadway, gets him swinging. I think at the end of the day, Swanee Pole maybe just a little bit disappointed with himself. It was probably a pitch he didn't need to swing at. And so, one out, but still a runner in scoring position. Now, Tui Amosa playing centre field today for Howick Pakuranga. And that is a strike every day of the week. You just sort of sense Connor Perry now starting to settle into his work a little bit.
He's certainly warmed up, hasn't he? He's starting to find that spot and work his zones a lot better than we saw in the first innings.
You're trying to, it's all about economy in these early innings, just trying to not, as we say, burn too many matches in terms of the shoulder. Looking after it, and that one just gets away from him. Just trying to get control over that curveball, looking for that change up. So runner on second and Blair Johnston, a stand-up double. Young Tui Amosa batting 7 for the Howick Pakuranga Hawks, looking to try and drive a run home. Strike not given, so 2 balls, 1 strike. I just want to reiterate that from what we have seen from Josh Weschler. What's your take on his strike zone?
Yes, I think he tends to go more for the ball at the lower end of the zone rather than the higher end. So you can already see how Pakuranga have picked up on that a bit. A lot of patience shown by these batters right now.
That time strike called, and that is a great example of it. That lower fastball, and that's what we are seeing from Josh Weschler. So 2-2 now the count. Just the 1 out. Tui Amosa, foul ball away. Count will remain 2-2. And now a full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Well, the good thing here from Tui Amosa, it's a good at-bat, isn't it? He's getting Blad on ball. He's forcing Connor Perry to throw more pitches than Perry wants to throw. And the benefits for what we're seeing from young Amosa will come later on further down this inning. At some point, you know, they start to throw a little bit more from the shoulder, and then you start to see the pitching changes. Clearly want to see Connor Perry probably go through at least 6 inning, I would have thought. Another foul ball away, so a very good at-bat from Amosa. Doesn't want to walk him, does not want to have a runner on first or second. Does he have a default setting? Does he have a default ball he goes to? Perry just decides to throw some heat, but again, it's a high fast ball. And I think most home plate umpires would have probably called that a ball. Very small margins though, but certainly, as we've alluded to, Josh Weschler today will not be calling those strikes. So runners now on first and second.
Yeah, you're right. Josh has been extremely consistent with that high ball, and Perry yet to adjust and bring it down.
And now Aaron Campbell. As we mentioned, his brother Scott Campbell, probably the closest any New Zealander who came through the age group ranks in this country has gone in terms of making the major leagues. Spent a long time with the Blue Jays organisation and was preparing probably for a major league debut at third base, and just injury, and Scott just never really got that opportunity, but he certainly did create the pathway to say to young New Zealanders, you guys can get there if you're prepared to work at it. And so Aaron Campbell, the next generation. Batting left, he's playing left field today for Howick Pakuranga Hawks. I like the intent there, Mark, from Campbell, just looking to try and bunt. It just creates just another little thing the pitch has to think about, isn't it?
It does.
Just for that moment, you just break the concentration a little bit.
Also look for the adjustment of the defensive side when that happens, with only one away. It was a good option.
So runners on first and second, just the one out. Get some swinging. 0-2, so Perry ahead on the count. Aaron Campbell behind on the count. Absolutely beautiful day here in Auckland for these United Airlines Club Nationals. Two local Auckland teams in this final. This time into the dirt from Perry. Count will now go to 1-2. Runners remain on first and second. So Blair Johnston on second, Tui Amosa on first. This time he goes long, but he'll just pop that up, and a bit of confusion in the outfield. The catch is eventually taken by Hiromi Sone in centre field from a fly ball off the bat of Aaron Campbell. And suddenly it is 2 out for the Howick Pakuranga Hawks, but they do have runners on first and second. And you don't see this very often, but Elliot Johnston, the starting pitcher, up to bat. No designated hitter for Howick Pakuranga. You surprised by this, Mark?
No, not at all. Having watched Elliot grow up, I just think, you know, the Tuatara brings a different level and he's there to pitch. But no, certainly very handy with the bat, and I think he'll be happy as.
And so this time, just clips the inside corner of the plate. Strike called. And that is the zone that he needs to be throwing. So Connor Perry trying to dig himself out. Just a little bit of a hole at the moment. This time, ball called. Low. Did paint the outside corner of the plate, but low, ball called. So 1-1 the count. This time, that is a nice change up. Starting at 12 o'clock and dropping to 6. So 1-2 now the count. So Connor Perry 1 strike away from bringing the top of the second to a close. Got him swinging this time. So that is a very good comeback from Connor Perry. So the runners at first and second do not advance. And as we head to the bottom of the second, it still remains scoreless between these two teams. Elliot Johnston will be back on.
Offensively and defensively, with a number of those Howick batters really taking him deep into their counts, battling hard and fighting and forcing Connor to sort of look at where he went, and he trusted himself there, cleaned up a couple of good strikeouts with the fastball.
Have a look there at Josh Weschler, the home plate umpire. We saw him a lot throughout the Tuatara season at home at North Harbour Stadium.
Josh started as a youngster for the Bayside Club in his playing days.
It'll be John Lee in the top of the second for the Bayside Wolves, batting 5-hole today, playing first base, wearing the number 21. Comes here with a big reputation. There's the ability to certainly go long. Wonderful game. This is just so strategic. It's a little bit like poker at times. It's more about playing the man rather than necessarily the ball at times, in terms of trying to get a bit of a read on what the pitch is going to throw. Good fastball, strike called, 1-1 the count. Oh, good strike again from Elliot Johnston. You just said, boy, he is dialed in at the moment. Just maintaining the wonderful summer that he had with the Tuatara, leading right through the club season. This time, though, gets a bit of bat on ball, but it will be a foul ball away, and the count will remain 1-2.
Yeah, no, I think Elliot certainly made the strongest start out of the two pitches today. More command on his zone right now. But John Lee also brings some real confidence in the box. Be a good battle.
Yeah, good battle indeed. Gets him swinging though, strikes him out. Great start from Elliot Johnston. So, 1 up, 1 down. Great economy. We talk about economy, but early on, really important. Trying to reduce the number of pitches they're throwing. The less pitches they throw early, the greater depth in terms of the number of innings they can pitch before possibly being replaced. And now we will see Vince Stephanie come into the box. What can you tell us about Vince?
Vince is a DH who's been around a long time now, Vince, in the game. He started his youth years here at Howick Pakuranga and moved on to Bayside Wolves, probably towards the end of his career now, but certainly brings a knowledge and a maturity to the game.
Elliot Johnston, again, he won't be given the strike there again. That is that high ball. I just start to wonder now whether we are seeing the Bayside Wolves have got a read on the home plate umpire and certain pitches not to swing at. And this time it will be a ground out to short and a simple fact safe. So you'd have to argue that possibly an error there. It should have been really just a simple 6-3 play. What we mean by that, shortstop to first, but it was a little bit of a wayward throw in the finish. And what should have been a simple out now means there is a runner on base for the Bayside Wolves.
Yeah, I just think the throw across from Richards drawing Blair Johnson off first bag and him not being able to turn around and make the tag.
Of course, on the first plate, they're allowed to run through and they have to come back and, be rock solid on that plate like you do on the second base and third base. So, Ingram Ledger. Wonderful name in sport. Gus Ledger, of course, one of the first players to provide a professional rugby contract. Outstanding softballer in his day. Gus, these days, heavily involved with Sacred Heart College and their first 15 program. So, Ingram Ledger, he is playing third base today for the Bayside Wolves. Strike call. Finds himself behind in the count, 0-2. And gets him swinging. Again, good comeback from Johnston once again. We talk about him being dialed in, and it's an old cliche in sport, in the zone. But he is very much the definition of that at the moment.
Yeah, you're certainly right. And with a young batter there, Ingram, he was this is his first step up to the men's national champs. I think a bit excited there in the box, and Elliott just being able to beat him with that experience.
Well, Ryota Mori, one of 2 Japanese outfielders for the Bayside Wolves, batting at 8 today. Is next in, just a small figure, but we've talked about this earlier, just how good they are technically. And because their mechanics are so good, their slight build doesn't mean that they lack power. And Elliott Johnston, that is a strike every day of the week. Just uses pure pace, pure speed. And Ryota Mori really didn't have much of an opportunity. So 1-2 the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Vince Stephanie, the runner on first. 2 outs. Bottom of the second. That is high. And so the count now goes to 2-2. Marked how strategic the strike count, the ball count, the count as a whole.
Yeah, it really changes the mentality from the batter's view of where his count is for a hitter's count to the pitcher getting ahead for his count.
And it will be a single down the left field line, and the runner will also advance to third. So a great piece of play coming from Ryota Mori. We talked about him just being the slight figure, but it was really just a ground ball through to left field. But you've got to say, Vince Stephanie got a very good jump on this pitch, found himself at second base before we knew it, and now suddenly it is the Bayside Wolves who are in a very good scoring position with runners on first and third. Good news, though, for Howick Pakuranga fans is that there are the 2 outs, and you've got one of the very best in Elliott Johnston on the mound. Strike called. Should be a simple ground out to pitcher to first, so 1-3 play. So Elliott Johnston does the damage and gets himself out of a little bit of difficulty. And as we head to the top of the third, it is a scoreless game in this United Airlines 2020 National Club Baseball Final between the home team, the Bayside Wolves, and the Howick Pakuranga Hawks. Sitting alongside of me is one of New Zealand's leading coaches in Mark Irwin. Mark, it's an intriguing contest. I sort of sense that Elliott Johnston appears to be the better of the 2 pitchers, yet it's not reflected on the scoreboard, is it?
No, I think again they're still just finding their feet, and we expect at this level too for the first few innings to be a pitcher battle. And when you've got pitchers of these qualities out there doing the job, I know that Elliott is, he's finding his zone a wee bit more comfortable right now than what Perry's showing.
Well, the good news is for Howick Pakuranga is they are back to the top of the order with their table setters and Luke Hansen, Faenza Bishop and Chris Richards. So need to capitalise on this opportunity, try and just put some early pressure on. 9-inning game. These 2 teams, I think, did meet earlier on in this tournament. And what I understand was a very high-scoring affair between both teams. That can often just be a reflection, possibly in pitching depth too.
Yeah, 30 runs scored all up in that game, with Bayside coming out on top 19-11 in that meeting earlier in the round robins. But again, it was on day 3 or 4 of the tournament when arms were getting a wee bit tired.
So just to give you an idea for people watching this for the first time, it is a game very much dominated by the ball. And we've seen this over the summer with the Tuatara. If you bat 10 times and you fail 7 times, you're world class. You're batting at 30% basically, and that, by Major League standards and baseball standards, is outstanding hitting. Most players are looking to try and hit 1 in every 4 at bats and try and do that consistently. So 0-1 the count. So foul ball away. Goes down as a strike. Connor Perry on the mound for the Bayside Wolves. This time high. 1-1 the count. It's probably been the one weakness so far for Connor Perry. Just hasn't really got that radar right, has he? He's persisted with that high fastball, and it just hasn't been effective at all.
Just failing to adjust slightly, Connor. Just getting that arm slotted to a different position and bringing that ball down, even if it's just half a ball.
Nice curveball in, strike called. Nice change up indeed, coming from Perry. There's the makings of a very, very good player. But Luke Hansen will be wanting to make a statement as well. Part of the Tuatara setup in the early part of the season, and then struggled to make his way into the starting lineup as some of the international players started to find their feet and started to find the ball.
I believe injury did play a part in that for a while for Luke, an injured wrist. Put him out for a wee while.
Again. And so, just get you to take us through that, Mark. Okay, so count is 2-2, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Connor Perry looking to try and strike Luke Hansen out, and this time Hansen does get bat on ball, looking for a single down the left field line, but goes into foul territory, and the count remains 2-2.
And again, we're seeing the Howick batters take Perry deep into his counts. So quality at bats right now.
Gets plenty of bat on that, but that, in fact, it falls just in the infield. So the runner immediately finds himself on base. I just wonder whether it might have just got into the sun, the eye line of Hiromi Sone in centre field there for the Bayside Wolves, because that was possibly a catch that should have been taken.
Yes, no, it did drop into no man's land. It's one of those ones that you just, unless you get a read on it early, you're never going to pick up and get yourself there. Perry behind in this count. Looking to pick off Hansen. That was a nice move, but Hansen very aware and back quickly. Hansen not frightened to take a reasonable lead on a lefty pitcher.
So Faenza Bishop. What was your take on Hiromi Sone? I mean, ground's very, very hard. Tough catch. I mean, tough catch trying to come forward.
I think he's misread the ball off the bat and not realised that he sort of just got the top of the bat and hasn't had the power generated off the hit and just dropped into no man's land. But in saying that, looking into the sun, again, very easy to misjudge at times. We've seen that a couple of times this week with guys feeling they're comfortable under the high ball and then last minute pulling out.
So, good slider there from Connor Perry to take the count to 1-1 this time, just wide. Looking to try and clip the outside corner. Didn't quite execute it, so 2-1 now. So he finds himself behind on the count, but Faenza Bishop ahead on the count. And the runner will advance to second. Off a wayward pitch. Suddenly runner now in scoring position in Luke Hansen, and that will be frustrating for the coaching staff. Very, very small margins. 3 balls, 1 strike. What is the call from Henry Laybourne? Gets him swinging. Great pitch. Great comeback from Perry. Now the full count, 3 and 2. Well, he had no choice but to swing on that occasion.
And I think he realised again, a pitcher understanding his batters, that Faienza Bishop did go at the high ones in his first at bat. It sort of tested him again.
Yes, having that ability to have that clarity under pressure, isn't it? And that's what separates good from great. And that's what this level's about, is getting those young players to think like that, to be able to think under pressure. Disappointed on that occasion, Perry, because suddenly, immediately now, Howick Pakuranga runners on first and second. In scoring position, no outs. How important is this next up at bat for both teams? Because Chris Richards, arguably one of the most experienced players across both teams, into the batter's box. We saw him win the home run derby earlier today. Played a number of games for the Tuatara in the Australian Baseball League out of the United States. A quality player who brings plenty of experience. And how often do you hear it at this level? It is experience, isn't it? So often we talk about experience.
Completely, but from a management perspective, Coach Johnny Southey's probably looking for him to get either a decent line shot or something deep and high to move the runners with no outs. I don't think the panic's on yet, looking for the big shot.
So sacrifice fly. Possibly look to... Are we likely to possibly look to Stephen Bunt? Oh, this time Perry, I think he thinks he felt he clipped the outside corner then.
Trust it, Chris, trust it.
But 1-1 the count, 1 ball, 1 strike. Luke Hanson on second base. Faienza Bishop on first. Time into the dirt. Chris Richards says, don't go anywhere. And now just time, so this is good from Laybourne just to come out and have a chat, possibly. No. Just thought maybe just to look, try and slow things down a little bit. Maybe just try and take some of that momentum away. This time gets the strike. That is the zone. Fast, but not too high. Almost mirrored the ball earlier. On that occasion, though, just a little bit lower. And thus the strike being given. So 2 and 2 the count. Chris Richards, he got to try and go long, and it, ladies and gentlemen, is gone. And Chris Richards with the first home run of the 2020 United Airlines National Club Final. He'll bring 2 runners home, and it is Howick Pakuranga Hawks who will go out to a 3-1-0 lead through Chris Richards, the home run king, arguably the most experienced player across both lineups. Well, we talked, didn't we, Mark Irwin, about the dangers of Chris Richards, and again, stepped up, he delivered.
He certainly did, and I think that ball just left across the centre of the plate, right in the wheelhouse for someone like Chris Richards and his power, and he delivered.
Well, Connor Perry, as we just have a look at that, so top of the third, and it is the Howick Pakuranga Hawks leading 3-0. And coming up now is Randy Yard, South African player. He is second base today for Howick Pakuranga. And what a hole the Wolves have suddenly found themselves in. No outs. Trailing 3-0 in the top of the third. This time looking to try and change it up. Connor Perry with the curveball.
Randy's actually out of the US.
My apologies.
He's out of our club at Counties Manukau, living in New Zealand now, out of the University of Hawaii, and originally signed with the Cincinnati Reds, went through the minors with the Reds. Brings a lot of experience to the game.
University of Hawaii, the Warriors. Again, Perry, he's just got to settle down here now. He's got to be able to just relax. I just wonder at what point does Laybourne, or possibly even the manager for the Wolves, just come to the mound, have a wee chat. Just got to believe in himself. Just go through the basics. And if need be, rely on the defensive abilities of his team. So that's a good comeback. So that is a strike. So Randy Yard will find himself back in the dugout, which means Blair Johnston, brother of Elliot Johnston, will come into the batter's box, knowing that his team leads 3 runs to nothing. Home run to Chris Richards. So 1 ball, no strikes. Again, this time fly ball comfortably taken in left field. So Connor Perry coming back with his second out at the top of the 3rd after giving up a 3-run home run to Chris Richards on that occasion. Blair Johnston just not really getting underneath it enough. Just a little bit out with his timing, and the catch comfortably taken by Ryota Mori in left field. Now Keegan Swanepoel.
Yeah, Keegan, another left-handed batter for the Hawks, and these guys now with that 3-run lead, you can see there's a slight change in the way they're approaching this game. They're not having to rush and push as hard now.
Strike called, so 1-1 now the count. Yeah, I mean, if you're Mark, if you're managing Connor Perry here, what are you saying to him between innings? What are you saying to him? What would be your message?
It's picking up on his body language first and foremost, to how I would approach him and see where he needs to be spoken to.
And how he needs to be spoken to, yep.
Yeah, it plays a big part, and I think, you know, at this level too, the catchers can do that job just as well. And as you've seen, Laybourne sort of trying to keep him under control. I think, though, they might have a slight word in his ear just in between innings and just bring him back, calm him down a wee bit.
Yeah, I mean, a simple message. Connor, you're starting today because we believe in you. So just go back, remember your good days, and call on that this time. A nice little change up, but it should be a comfortable ground. In fact, another little error, so that is disappointing for the Wolves. Which really should have been a ground out to second base.
Duncan Isaacs just getting up high on that hop and getting into the glove, but just losing control is going to transfer to the throat.
So Duncan Isaacs, my apology, fielding at shortstop. So what really should have just been what I comfortably call a 6-3 play, shortstop to first. A little bit of a fielding error. That again is pressure.
That ball did kick a bit.
So suddenly a runner on first. A lot of the good work being done by Connor Perry just undone then, and that'll be frustrating for the pitcher. Suddenly having to find himself throwing possibly another 6 or 7 pitches to try and close this inning. And Tui Amosa is the young man into the batting box for Howick Pakuranga Hawks. I sort of sense, though, off the back of the Chris Richards home runs, Perry, to me, looks, I don't know, he looks actually more settled now than ever.
Yeah, I think that's just Connor's maturity coming into the game. I think he's certainly been in these situations before. And again, it is very early in the game. He's a bit unlucky with the next one, a ground ball, what he's looking for to get out of the innings.
Gets him swinging this time, and that will bring the inning to a close, the top of the third. But it's been a very successful inning for Howick Pakuranga. Chris Richards with a 3-run home run to lead, to bring his club, Howick Pakuranga, with the lead over the Bayside Wolves. The home team for this tournament, 3-0 as we head to the bottom of the third. Mark Irwin, for Outer Counties Manukau, one of New Zealand's leading managers and coaches, sitting alongside of me, bringing you all the expert analysis. Intriguing competition, an intriguing game. We talked about key moments, big players. Chris Richards, he's a colourful personality. He's not afraid at times to sort of talk the talk, but he backs it up, he walks the walk.
Yeah, that's one thing colourful Chris brings to the party. He will get the job done, and he certainly has changed the momentum slightly within this game. But again, it's early days. We're only at the third.
Chris Richards taking one of the great catches for the Auckland Tuatara in a clutch moment against the Brisbane Bandits in the Australian Baseball League, a game that the Tuatara needed to win to make the playoffs. Josh Colmenter pitched a shutout that day on the mound, but equally it was the Chris Richards catch in right field that made the ESPN top 10 plays of the day in the United States, which was equally as impressive as Colmenter in terms of allowing that Tuatara making the postseason in just their second year. It was a wonderful catch, wasn't it? The American commentators, though, sort of, I don't know, they talked about the outfield there at North Harbour Stadium. Would they use the word? I think the play school looking fence.
Play school fence, I think it was, yeah.
Probably got to understand that we don't quite have the resources that the Americans have. A good crowd in, slow crowd, a very loyal crowd, I think is probably the best way of describing it. This is the heart and soul of the baseball community. This is the reason the Tuatara exist, as we see a foul ball away from first up pitch from Elliot Johnston. So Hiromi Sone, and he will be out at first. So good first up play from Howick Pakuranga. Good news is for Bayside Wolves fans, we are back at the top of the order, and now Andrew Mark batting 2-hole today, looking to try and get himself on base, looking to try and rally his troops, even though it is early in this national final. Elliot Johnston gets the strike. I think Mark Elliott's probably adapted a lot earlier to the home plate umpire Weschler, as we do see a hit up through to centre field, and Andrew Mark will find himself on first base. So a nice single to Mark, continuing the good form that we saw throughout the ABL. But Johnson seems to have just maybe got a slightly better read on things.
Oh, 100%. He's either putting it there for the batter to get the ground ball, or he knows the spots that he needs to hit today that he's going to get called. And I think certainly if we looked at the numbers, he would have thrown a lot less pitches than Perry at this point in the game.
And working brilliantly too with Faenza Bishop. It's not an easy thing too when you're going from different clubs and you don't necessarily get to spend that much time with your catcher, getting that relationship, getting it down pat. So Duncan Isaacs, the shortstop for the Bayside Wolves, is into the batter box, batting 3 today for the club. We are in the bottom of the third. Elliot Johnston just outside of Weschler's strike zone, just slightly high. Try and pick the runner off at first, and Andrew Mark, wise old head though. Mark, he's probably not the most explosive runner to have on base.
No, but certainly
33 years of age these days.
Yeah, but he's put a lot of work in over the off-season, as you mentioned earlier, Mark, to sort of get himself back into the fitness level required by the Tuatara at that level. And I think it's paid dividends. He's certainly moving around the bases.
Now, I apologise, I think he's 30 years of age. I was thinking of, come Won Suk, 33 years of age. This time Mark does look to try and go. Foul ball away. We'll have to come back to first. So Mark showing his intent. And again, that's just trying to put a little bit of pressure too on Elliot Johnson as much as anything. A little bit of theatrics. Playing the mind game. It is a mind game, isn't it? It's a lot of poker at times.
And also the catcher's got to really sort of start to look where the runner's sitting.
So, Duncan Isaacs. What can he do? Mark won't want this game to get away from him. Desperate to get himself. He will go again, Andrew Mark. And this time the throw will come. And they will look to try and pick him off, and they will pick him off. That is great play indeed. Wonderful play from Howick Pakuranga in picking off Andrew Mark at first base. Great throw from Fryenza Bishop across to Randy Yard, Yard across to Blair Johnston. That is baseball at its very best. Andrew Mark, maybe just on that occasion, possibly confusing ability with ambition.
He looks a bit disappointed with himself too, Mark, after that play. He was clearly caught napping and thought he had a better jump. As you see there, that throw was clearly going to beat the runner.
I think it was Chris Richards that might have come across from shortstop to second. And then straight across to Blair Johnston. So brilliant play, but great throw for Fryenza Bishop, the catcher. So they worked that beautifully. So top of the fourth we head to, and it is still the Howick Pakuranga Hawks leading 3-0. Connor Perry on the mound for the Bayside Wolves. Reasonably windy up here in the commentary box, but at ground level, breeze, the environmental factors, not really having too much of a say in things. We have mentioned, though, that the pitches are probably thrown into a slight headwind.
Yeah, probably a wee bit of extra work for the pitchers. Makes it a lot easier for the batter in this sort of wind. Once that ball's up with this sort of wind floating around up there. But again, it's good to see Bayside keeping their faith with Connor here, and, giving him the opportunity to come into the fourth.
So Aaron Campbell, next batter, left field today, wearing the number 16, local boy, looking to try and get Howick Pakuranga their 6th national title. Immediately, 1-0 the count, so 1 ball, no strikes. Be able to hear the wind through the mic effects at the moment. Strike called this time, so 1-1 the count. Got to say, I like Perry. When we saw Perry in the top of the third after giving up the 3-run home run, he looked actually a lot more settled. But that is the zone. He is not going to get strikes called throwing that. And that arguably has probably been a little chink in his armour so far.
Most definitely, he seems to just struggle to adjust from that high zone, and a lot of his numbers today are up and around that area. Again, we see the same pitch, and he's just failing to sort of adjust that half to full ball.
Yeah, at this point in the game, you can't have a go at the home plate umpire because we've seen consistency from him. He said, look, that's not my strike zone today. You just you've got to adjust. You've got to look at some of these variables that come with this game. It's not an exact science, and immediately Howick Pakuranga got another runner on base. Got to be careful that this game doesn't get away from the Bayside Wolves.
Yeah, I think Wrestler's zone has been very tight today. It's been a good, consistent zone. It's a comfortable zone. He's certainly calling well.
Elliot Johnston will be batting 9-hole before we go back to the top of the order with Hanson, Bishop and Richards. Leading pitcher today for the Howick Pakuranga Hawks. Strike call, just paints the outside corner of the plate. So 0-1 the count. Looks to try and repeat the pitch this time. Just a little wide. So I wonder, looking at the pitches that we're seeing Connor Perry throw to Elliot Johnston. Wonder whether they have an understanding of what his potential weakness is. I can't imagine that as we see a wayward pitch, and the runner will steal second. Will advance to second.
Yeah, good vision there from Campbell to pick up that the ball got away from Leaborn slightly there.
So again, runner in scoring position. This time gets Johnston swinging. So 2-2 now the count. Aaron Campbell, the runner in scoring position on second. Get some swinging. So Elliot Johnston, none from two so far in this United Airlines National Club Final. But back to the top of the order, and that is the good news for Howick Pakuranga fans. Luke Hansen, lead-off batter for this team. Up against Connor Perry, starting on the mound today for the Bayside Wolves. Nice little, what would you describe that as, a slider or a curveball?
I would describe that more of a curveball. It had a bit of a slider finish to it, but I'd certainly say that was Connor's curveball.
So the curveball starts at 12 o'clock if you're looking at the numbers on a clock, and drops to 6 o'clock. The slider tends to come more across, either left to right, right or left across the pitcher. If you are watching this, sometimes you will just tend to get, like I say, maybe that hybrid. Maybe that's the best way of describing it. Almost a hybrid pitch, isn't it? But and they disguise them brilliantly, the best pitches. You can think it's the fastball, and suddenly it just comes out of the hand slightly different. Before you know it, it drops on you. This time, that is just a pure fastball. It should be a comfortable ground out from shortstop to first, so a nice little 6-3 play, and that is much better play coming from Duncan Isaacs, who earlier on just made a little bit of a handling error fielding at shortstop. But good, solid baseball being played now from the Bayside Wolves, and the runner remains on second. So the 2 outs. Good comeback once again from Connor Perry.
Most definitely, this is, without a doubt, probably one of his better innings. And this is coming back after the 3-run shot last innings. No, he's working hard.
And sometimes too, isn't it? I mean, don't be afraid, if you get yourself into a bit of a hole, don't be afraid to give up a hit, but and have faith in your defensive outfit. Have faith in your team. Clearly, you don't want to throw a home run, but sometimes when you're maybe just not finding that strike zone, or you're just struggling a little bit, get bat on ball.
It is a 9-man game, and you know, these guys, he went after that pitch and got the ground ball, as coach was probably looking for.
And this time it will be a single up through to centre field, and the runner will look to try and come home. And once again, Howick Pakuranga will score a 4th run off an RBI single from Faenza Bishop.
Great understanding by Campbell on second base, realising where his outfielders were positioned off that hit, and just looked to go the whole way. Got a feeling that ball might have clipped the pitcher on its way through.
Now they are having a discussion on the mound. I wonder whether we will see a pitching change. So, an RBI single for Bishop, and Howick Pakuranga leading 4 runs to nothing, top of the 4th, and for the first time today, some real concerns, some real discussion going on. Gus Ledger, what does he do? Does he make the call? Does he pull Connor Perry? Doesn't look like it. Just took him on the hand, so maybe that is more the concern, is more the injury.
It's looking that way with BNZ trainer Daisuke out there at the moment, having a look at the hand. I think he got the hand to the ball on its way through. was well driven up the middle.
Yeah, it can sting a little bit, can't it? Might just see if we can just have a look at that last play too from Faenza Bishop and just see what exactly did happen here to Connor Perry. So Bishop up through to centre field. This angle might show it a little bit more. And then we immediately, don't we, we see Aaron Campbell managing to make his way around. So great running from Campbell. You just wonder too whether he looked at what Hiromi Sone, the centre fielder for the Bayside Wolves, and thought, well, I don't think he's got the best arm in the league. I'm going to take it on. And that's the other thing too, isn't it? It's understanding the defensive qualities of your outfielders in terms of how strong their arms are. I mean, that was part of the reason why we saw downtown Max Brown, you know, perhaps he wasn't hitting that well for the Tuatara, still make that starting lineup because he offered so much defensively.
He did. He had a cannon max, and in that situation there also, we teach runners, and they know this is a hands down at this level, but once you get to second base, you assess your outfielders, you know where they're standing, you know where they're positioned, so when the ball comes off the bat.
So Connor Perry, that is his day done, and gets a warm round of applause from this very passionate crowd here at Lloyd Elsmore Park. And we'll just get heads up on who is now on the mound for the Bayside Wolves.
Looks like Duncan Isaacs is moving from shortstop to the mound.
So Duncan Isaacs, well, that is somewhat of a somewhat of a surprise, I guess, when I probably go through and have a look at the other pitches available. But clearly they see something in Isaacs, and whether he's just here for an inning or they expect to see him pitch 2 or 3.
Duncan's pitched a wee bit this season during the regular season. He's certainly comfortable up there on the mound.
So he's come out of shortstop, Duncan Isaacs, and he's coming onto the mound. So we'll just try and get a little bit of an update in terms of the change that have been made in the field.
Looks like Nick Coe has moved to shortstop.
So Nick Coe to shortstop.
Andrew
Isaacs onto the mound.
Marks has come into second base, and I think Vince Stephanie might have gone out to right field.
The designated hitter. Okay, that makes good sense, and these are some of the challenges that the managers need to make. These things. Now, let's talk a little bit about Duncan Isaac. So just watching him throw, he's a right-handed pitcher.
He certainly is.
You've probably seen him around. Does he have a repertoire, or does he sort of have a default pitch that he tends to lean on a lot?
Look, Duncan will probably look to throw a lot of fastballs. I believe he does have a curve, possibly a change within his repertoire. I've watched Duncan grow up. It's good to see Duncan back in New Zealand. He left the country for a while. He's been playing in Europe and went to college in the US. Came back to trial for the Tuatara. But it's good to see him back. He brings a lot to the game. He understands the game. He's been playing it since he was very young.
Well, it doesn't get any easier for the Bayside Wolves because Chris Richards, who's already hit a 3-run home run, is back into the cage, back into the batter's box. Got a nice little variety in repertoire. Talk about settling in. Looks like he's been on the mound through the first 3 innings. Duncan Isaacs. I'll just get that count for you. This time, Richards. Foul ball away.
Just probably looking to keep it out of Chris's hot spot.
So 1 ball, 2 strikes. Just got him swinging this time and strikes him out. So Isaacs gets the job done, asked of him by his management team. And so it is still, though, Howick Pakuranga with the single, who lead this game by 4 runs to nothing as we head to the bottom of the 4th. At what point, Mark, do you start to feel that pressure? 4 runs down, bottom of the 4th. At what point do you start to feel this game's getting away from you?
I think the screws would start to tighten up now. The management team would be looking to try and just produce some runs. I mean, Elliot Johnson's not making it easy for them out there, but they've got enough depth of talent with the bat in this team to start now looking to push the ball through the gaps, find the ground balls, get the runners on base and look to push them across. I don't think they'd want to let it go too much further without getting themselves on the scoreboard.
Well, Andrew Mark, we could see that earlier on in the bottom of the third inning, trying to steal second base and got picked off beautifully with a lovely throw for Fayenza Bishop across to Chris Richards, Richards across to Blair Johnston, and you could sort of see the frustration, but it was almost a sense of, well, I've got to lead from the front, I've got to take the initiative here. We've seen a number of fielding errors today. Let's see how they deal with pressure, and you've got to say to Howard Pakuranga, they dealt with it brilliantly.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, just defensively and offensively at the moment, they're certainly the stronger team. In saying that, you know, we know what Bayside can produce. We know the lineup they have. And I think this game won't be over for a long shot yet.
So they got 8 pitches generally is what they get to warm up. Number 21 in the batter's box for the Bayside Wolves will be John Lee. He is a power hitter. And cometh the hour, cometh the man.
Henry Leaborn.
In fact, Henry Leaborn and then John Lee. My apologies. So batting 4-5, so this generally in baseball should be the 1-2 punch. We saw it so effectively with Josh Morgan and Jared Walker for the Tuatara, batting 3 and 4. And then you had Kim Won-Sok, Andrew Mark. It was a wonderful lineup in the finish. Good start again from Elliot Johnston. A hit on the count. No balls, 1 strike. This time gets plenty of bat on that, and that might just drop into no man's land. It does. It will be a single, so runner on first base. So good start from Henry Leaborn. Can they rally? That is what they're wanting. Runners on base, no outs. And we talked about John Lee, the power hitter. Well, he now comes into the batter's box, and boy, a two-run homer here would certainly close things up. Start to just put a little bit of pressure maybe for the first time on Elliot Johnston. This time low. Good patience being shown from John Lee. Very aware of Fayenza Bishop's arm. We saw him picking Andrew Mark off. So 1 and 2. Check the swing. In fact, they said that. So, home run to Chris at the top of the third, and then an RB. From Elliot Johnston a little bit. Just checking on the swing, but no real intent there. So ball called, 2 balls, 1 strike. But we've just seen him being moved to right field. When Connor Perry was relieved as a pitcher, and the shortstop, Duncan Isaacs, came onto the mound. So he has found himself in this game.
Little shot down the left-hand line there, just going foul from Vince. Looking to push that ball down that line simply to try and get the runner across to 2. With only 1 out here.
And Elliot Johnston will be aware of that, so he'll be looking to try and either throw higher inside or outside of the plate to basically take the angles, to take the physics, to take that trajectory away. But we do see on this occasion a very effective hit from Vince Stephanie, so this is a good comeback so far from the Bayside Wolves. Elliot Johnston giving up another single. Runners now suddenly on first. I guess for Howard Pakuranga fans, as they're now sort of starting to move into the bottom of the order for the Bayside Wolves. A little bit of inexperience here with the likes of Ingram Ledger. Ledger swinging. Big ask for a young man.
Very big ask for a young man, but this kid's got some serious talent and has been involved in enough of the national programs now to sort of have a bit of maturity beyond his years when it comes to the game.
Gets bat on ball. Well, that'll be pleasing. He says he's seen it okay. Just needs to get the timing a little bit better. Got one of the very best in Elliot Johnston. So 0-2 the count, behind on the count. Does Johnston just go at him here? Just clips the outside corner of the plate. And 2 out of just the smallest of in the bottom of the fourth. 1, possibly 4 runs to 2. Intriguing game. Mark Irwin alongside me, bringing all the expert analysis. Strikes. So 1-1 now the count.
You know, Elliot really taking command of this now. He's understanding his spots where he's getting it called, and he's just playing to that strength.
High and fast. Equally then, I think you've got to say Ryota Mori also understanding what that strike zone is, and therefore not swinging on that Asian players. Game very orthodox. Base percentages amongst the Asian players, particularly walk. They're not afraid to look.
And this is why you see so many of them batting at the top of the lineups for squads, because of their on-base percentages.
Intriguing contest. 2 balls, 1 strike. 3 balls, 1 strike. From a strike, left-handed runners on first and second. Basically a free swing here for Mori if he wants it. Get some swinging. In fact, does strike him out, does he? He does, in fact, so it is all over for the Bayside Wolves in the bottom of the fourth. Elliot Johnston once again in a little bit of a difficult situation with runners on first, but pitches his way out of it, showing all of his experiences as we head to the top of the fifth. It is Howick Pakuranga Hawks leading this 2020 United Airlines National Baseball Club final by 4 runs to nothing. Wonderful day, beautiful day at Howick, in Howick Pakuranga. Lloyd Elsmore Park. And this is normally the home ground for the Howick Pakuranga Hawks, but through this national club final, based on qualifying, is in fact the Bayside Wolves, who are the home team. Therefore, they will bat second in every inning, and that just gives that home team the opportunity for a walk-off if they need it in the bottom of the 9th. So we are back to the top of the 5th, and it will be the Hawks who will come back into bat. In fact, I should say the Bayside, the Wolves who are pitching. And first up, it'll be a high fly ball, and the catch will be comfortably good. First up pitch from the game at shortstop, but he's looked very, very good. He hasn't thrown a lot of pitches, but he's been very effective. He's got the job done, asked from him by Gus Ledger.
And he has a very calm head, does Duncan. He won't panic at all.
So, Blair Johnston. Oh, nice, the look of him. So 1-1 the count. Blair Johnston, timing just a little bit off, foul ball. Count will go to 2-2. Well, it's a great strength, isn't it? You've got a player who can play so effectively at shortstop, which you'd imagine he can probably play second and third base and also pitch.
Oh, it's the benefits of growing up in New Zealand playing baseball. You know, we have guys that become utilities from a young age. For a long time, we had Pinky Marks, pitcher-catcher.
But I think it's important too, you know, I always think that if you're a pitcher, at some point play catcher, so you get to have a look at it from a different angle. And I think as a pitcher, you can then start to maybe, you take something from that, don't you? You're not sure when you're going to use it, how you're going to use it, but you've just got a little bit more information, you've got a little bit more experience. You know, get out there as a hitter at times as a pitcher, so you can sort of say, okay, this is what it looks like, this is the angle that they see it at.
Ironically, our three best pitchers in the youth grades being Pinky Marks, Blair Johnson, and another young man who's now in Canada, Jamie Wilson, they were all catchers at the same time they were pitchers. So, yeah, they're all very good catchers.
So, Blair Johnston. I just like the fact that what we're seeing from Duncan Isaacs is just, he is a little sort of unorthodox, isn't he? He tends to throw, sort of very much opens the shoulders a little bit when he throws. He doesn't tend to have the beautiful biomechanics that we tend to sort of see from a number of pitchers in terms of the way he winds up.
No, that's because Duncan is more an infield player that can pitch, and as long as he's comfortable, it's all about his arm health.
Yep.
But again, he's been very successful there, striking out Swanee Pool.
That brings the inning to a close. And at the bottom of the fifth now, Pakuranga come back out to defend, to pitch, and they will come up against the Bayside Wolves, who are yet to score a run. So far it is a shutout for Elliot Johnston, which is really the goal of all pitchers. We saw Josh Colmenter for the Tuatara do it brilliantly in a key game against the Brisbane Bandits of the ABL to secure the Auckland Tuatara playoff berth. Magnificent that night in a 1-0 victory over the Bandits.
It was a great game, great event. Nick Coe up to bat by the looks of things for the Bayside Wolves.
So Nick Coe batting 9-hole, batting bottom of the order for them. It's not necessarily a reflection of his batting. Sometimes you will see the managers put a couple of, try and spread their hitters out throughout the batting rotation. But strike called again from Elliot Johnston. He has been simply magnificent. This time, strike not given. It just gets away from Johnson a little bit. Plenty of heat on that. And the count now goes to 2 balls, 1 strike. So Nick Coe showing plenty of patience. Full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Gets him swinging. So 1 up, 1 down. Bottom of the 5th. And now we go back to the top of the order for the Wolves. It will be Hiromi Sone, playing centre field today. Looking to try and get himself on base, and top of the order, affectionately known in baseball as the table setters. Gets him swinging though, Johnston. Almost starting to look unplayable.
He's pitching a fantastic game right now.
So I've got Mark Irwin alongside of me, bringing all the expert analysis. Hope you are enjoying this coverage of the 2020 United Airlines National Club Baseball Final. Two local teams, Bayside Wolves, based in sort of the eastern beaches of Auckland, or St Heliers, up against Hauck Pakuranga, the most successful club in baseball here in New Zealand, with 5 national titles previously. This time, though, should be just, again, another just simple error. And runner finds himself on first, and that'll be frustrating for Elliot Johnston.
Certainly an unpredicted error there from Chris Richards, just sort of taking his eye off the ball once he got it to the glove, sort of looking over at the runner and losing control of it.
Yeah, Chris Richards base, Blair Johnston at first, and Andrew Mark now comes into the batter's box. Auckland Tuatara team, and the key contributor to this time. Andrew Mark will ground out comfortably to third base, and he is given out. So a nice 5-3 play on that occasion from Luke Hanson across to Blair Johnston. Not much in it, but a play that should be made at this level. And now Duncan Isaacs, who is on the mound pitching for the Bayside Wolves, comes into the batter's cage, into the batter's box. Elliot Johnston goes high, ball called. If you have just joined us, we've got Josh Weschler as the home plate umpire, and his strike zone tends to be more around the waist, more around the knees rather than high. And Elliot Johnston probably being the difference in terms of adapting early and understanding the strike zone. But he finds himself behind on the count on this occasion. Johnston, 2 balls, no strikes.
Yeah, but Elliott's still looking very comfortable up there right now. I don't think there's any need for him to panic. I think he's got good control of this game.
So that runner did steal second. We just didn't see that through the camera lens. So they do now have a runner in scoring position. And that is Hiromi Sone.
Good jump, good pace.
Duncan Isaacs, can he become the hero for the Bayside Wolves? This time into the dirt. And Elliot Johnston finds himself once again just in a little bit of difficulty with runners on first and second in scoring position. And Henry Laybourne will be next up to bat, followed by John Lee. So 2 power hitters. Good punch in the middle of the order here for the Bayside Wolves. Batting 4 and 5. First time today we're actually just seeing Faenza Bishop come to the mound and just have a bit of a chat. Johnny Southey coming out as well. I think that's maybe just to slow a little bit of the momentum.
That's all it is, just slow it down. 2 runners on now, they still have 2 outs. So I think they'll just be talking to Elliott, suggesting let's just find that ground ball or that pop-up, that fly out. Because right now we know we've got some power coming into bat for Bayside. It's a position they want to be in with 2 runners on, but probably not happy with the 2 outs.
Hasn't been a lot of opportunities in this game, but a 3-run home run to Chris Richards. Very much the turning point in the top of the 3rd. The Bayside Wolves, desperate to try and close the gap, have probably been the best team throughout this tournament. But individuals will win you games. It's depth of pitching that will win you the title. And clearly Hauck Pakuranga have been strategic in terms of allowing Elliot Johnston to pitch here today, to pitch this afternoon. And that can often be risky because you don't want to be looking too far ahead.
No, you don't want to overthink it early. Just keep an eye on things moving along, and Jonathan Southey's been around a long time now, so he'll be keeping a close eye on Elliot, as will Faenza Bishop.
So Henry Laybourne. Can he go long? He's got him swinging, Elliot Johnston, and that'll bring that inning to a close. So as we head to the top of the 6th, it is still the Howick Pakuranga Hawks leading the Bayside Wolves 4 runs to nothing. And we're starting to head into the stretch. How important is the 6th inning for the Bayside Wolves? Well, sitting alongside of me, Mark Irwin. Mark, now the pressure, you sense, is very much on this Wolves team.
Most definitely. I think they're now starting to be feeling it, looking to see how they adjust. They'll want to get into this innings, get out of it reasonably quickly and get another shot to bat, because they know now every innings as it comes to a close, without putting these runs on board, they're going to end up playing catch-up, and sort of nobody wants to get themselves into that position.
Elliot Johnston so far through 5 innings has thrown a shutout. Certainly a number of hits, a number of runners on base, but yet to see a runner come home.
He's had great command. Just the umpires, Warren Van Ruin, Mike Smith and Mike Vucicek out there just having a chat in between innings, just probably assessing what's going on, talking over a few things.
Talked about the Auckland Tuatara and what it's done for baseball and what it's going to do for baseball, and we talked about it in terms of a player development point of view, but it's been simply a wonderful opportunity for the officials as well, isn't it? So, is the next batter up for Howick Pakuranga, coming up against Duncan Isaacs, who is the second pitcher being used today by the Bayside Wolves. Started the game at shortstop, and I've got to say, he is unorthodox, but boy, he has been effective. Throws very much with a very sort of open shoulder. And I just wonder, because of his sort of unorthodox style, that's just almost putting off some of these batters in terms of their timing. This time, straight down Broadway. Should be a comfortable ground out at second. And it is indeed. So 1 up, 1 down. Again, Isaacs showing his value, showing his all-round ability. What a player.
Just producing those ground balls, and after the Howick batters looking at someone like Connor Perry, a lefty with a lot of pace for the first 4 innings, it certainly made a difference now.
So Aaron Campbell batting left field today. Has a look at that first pitch, but it just inside corner, strike called. Campbell look a little bit bemused by that. So 1-1 now the count. 1 ball, 1 strike. Lovely little curveball. Doesn't seem to have any problem in terms of control. Certainly showing a lot of confidence and having the confidence to throw the variety of pitches that he is throwing. And it should be a high fly ball, comfortably taken in centre field by Hiromi Sone. So 2 up, 2 down for Duncan Isaacs. Now Elliot Johnston, so bottom of the order. And I'd imagine here that Isaacs will just go at him. And what we mean by that, just not muck around, go straight down the strike zone, get him swinging. Great example of it.
Yes, no, I think Duncan's well aware of that. And so far, everything's going to plan. 2 quick outs. I think Bayside will just be looking to get out before Howick get back to the top of their order.
Good curveball too, great pitch. Well, for a part-time pitcher, it's hard to believe that he is just a part-time pitcher. He has been simply magnificent so far, Duncan Isaacs. What a player. This time, just gets a little bit away from him. And Elliot Johnston showing plenty of patience, picked that up early.
Just lost his release there. Couldn't bring it across the plate.
Foul ball away, so 1 ball, 2 strikes. Now it's time, he gets plenty on that. That goes long, but it is a fly ball and the catch is taken. Isaac's brilliant, 3 up, 3 down. Another very good catch taken by Hiromi Sone. And as we now head to the bottom of the 6th, it is still the Howick Pakuranga Hawks leading the Bayside Wolves 4 runs to nothing.
Yeah, crucial innings there, and I think Isaac's handled it extremely well. Just getting those pitches across the plate that are drawing either the pop-up or the ground ball and allowing the field behind him to do some work. Also some confidence being shown by their field now.
Well, cometh the hour, cometh the man. It is getting to that point where really the Bayside Wolves need to rally. They need to try and find a way of breaking this wonderful pitching display of Elliot Johnston. He has simply been remarkable. And from the very first pitch that he threw to what we're just seeing out here warming up, doesn't seem to be a lot of change in technique and form. There doesn't seem to be any sign of him fatiguing.
No, he's still very, very comfortable. You know, 6 innings in, that's a coach's dream right now in a game like this, having the starter go this deep. You know, Bayside have been through their lineup now possibly up to 3 times, and they're still not really getting a hold of Elliot, so great outing.
It's often the thing, isn't it? I mean, clearly runs and hits will determine whether a pitcher and stuff is starting to fatigue, but often you can just look at form, just subtle little changes. You tend to fall away a little bit, or you know, and it takes the real aficionados to often pick it up. But I think it's true in all sport. You know, I always say when you're in running, cycling, don't look at the faces, you know, of athletes who might have an ugly face on because they're hurting. Look at the form.
Yep. 100%. With Elliot showing no sign of fatigue at all right now. He looks very, very comfortable.
So John Lee up for the Bayside Wolves, batting at 5 today. He is their first baseman. Good start again from Johnson. Hit on the count, 0-2. This is the intrigue. Do you swing or do you have a look at it? Get some swinging. Great economy. Bottom of the 6th. Elliot Johnston on fire. Looking to try and shut out through 6.
3 pitch out. They were good pitches, all 3 of them. Adjusted, worked his way around the plate.
Now Vince Stephanie, he's been effective today. He's been one of the real shining lights offensively for the Bayside Wolves. Can he start this rally? And that just gets away from Johnston. High, outside, 1-0 the count. And again, if you are interested in taking up the sport of baseball, you want your kids involved, go to the Baseball New Zealand website. All the information right across the country in terms of regions, teams, clubs. If you want to get involved in the coaching side of it, the technical side of it, the sport is growing. That side of the sport needs to grow as well. So 1-1 the count. Elliot Johnston, Faienza Bishop is catcher. The communication's been fantastic this time. Certainly Josh Weschler's ball zone right there. That high fast ball not being called. He's been consistent. He's been very good, actually, Josh Weschler, all day.
Josh has had an extremely good game. Very confident in what he does.
This time, a swing that he didn't need to take on that occasion, Vince Stephanie. But that is the poker game that we're playing, trying to get a read on what Elliot Johnston is going to throw. Elliot Johnston trying to trick him into believing that he might throw something in the strike zone, in fact doesn't. That pitch just getting away a little bit from Faienza Bishop, but no damage done, no runners on base. So the 1 out, full count. We're into the bottom half of the Bayside Wolves batting order. Ingram Ledger will be the next batter into the box. Again, outside, walks him though on this occasion. So we talked about how effective Vince Stephanie has been, and he shows plenty of patience. Good on base percentage for him throughout the season. And now young Ledger comes in. What an opportunity. Comes from an outstanding sporting family. What an opportunity for this young man to make mark. Strike call. So sometimes you can get caught up and see the ball in the glove of the catcher. Of course, he is standing a little ways back from the home plate, and the ball can drop considerably between the plate and the catcher. And so it's the height of the ball across the plate.
Standing as far back as increment as he's allowing Elliott to play around with him a wee bit and move that ball low across the plate. With the experience that Elliott has, he's going to take that to his advantage.
Elliott Johnston. 1 out. No balls, 2 strikes. Runner on first. Runner stays at first. So 1 ball, 2 strikes. In fact, the foul ball away, so it remains at 0-2.
Young Ingram battling hard here.
So Vince Stephanie is the player on first, looking to try and get a jump, trying to steal second. And this time it is a single, is it? No, a fly ball, catch comfortably taken in centre field by Tui Amosa. And 2 outs now for the Bayside Wolves. They just can't get anything going. If we have another look at that, just thought there for a moment it might have just fallen short. We saw it happen earlier when the Bayside Wolves were fielding. It can just get caught in the sun directly into the eyes of the players in the outfield at the moment. But the catch was taken. And so Ryoto Mori who's had a couple of hits today in the box, strike called. But Elliott Johnston still in command. How much of it is psychological? How much of a reputation did he build for the Auckland Tuatara over the summer?
Look, it's just grown for Elliott.
And that will bring the inning to a close. And this time Maury, just a fly ball out to left field. And Elliott Johnston just continuing to dominate as we head to the top of the 7th. It is the Howick Pakuranga Hawks leading the Bay City Wolves 4 runs to nothing. Time is starting to run out for the Wolves, who probably came into this final arguably the favourites.
Without a doubt, I think on paper they certainly looked like they had the goods, but Howick's just reminded them that they might not be the home team today, but they're at home, and they're there to spoil the party.
Let's just have a look at this last play here from Elliott Johnston. Maury. Basic, simple, damage done. Aaron Campbell with a comfortable catch. And the outfielders, the field doing the job for Elliott Johnston as well.
Certainly seems to be a spring in the step of the Howick players. I think they feel like this could be enough based on how tight this game's been.
Well, Chris Richards, I mean, how big has he been? I mean, just a clutch player in clutch moments. He's a colourful personality. He's good for the sport. Clutch moment for the Auckland Tuatara, clutch moment today. And there's a part of the reason why he's managed to carve out a living as a professional baseball player.
Yes, and the reputation's there for him now. And I mean, as you brought up that catch for the Tuatara, that was just absolutely phenomenal. But I think from today's perspective, Chris would probably look at that shot today as being right up there with something that will bring him the joy that did.
Well, we'll have a, you know, when it comes to the top of the 9th or the bottom of the 9th, however this game plays out, the bottom of the 9th, we will certainly get an idea of how much this means to both teams. One will be overwhelmed with emotion, and the other almost overwhelmed with sorrow. And that is sport at the highest level. There can only be the one winner. So back to the top of the order, Luke Hanson. who did start for the Tuatara in the early part of the season against the Perth Heat. This time a little sort of pop-up, effective, and he'll get himself on first. So almost a miscue is probably the best way of describing that hit. Didn't really get the timing right. Sort of almost a hybrid shot between a single and a bunt is probably the best way of describing it, Mark.
Yeah, it's just come right off the top of the bat there and just bobbled in. You watch it here. He just sort of, I think he went to probably look to pull away from that swing more than anything and just realised he'd gone too far into it, got bat to ball, and it just sort of bobbled out there and caused a bit of confusion.
And that outfield just now starting to come in maybe just a little bit closer. Good pitch though, good comeback here from Duncan Isaacs. This time good curveball again. Wow, I like the look of this young man. I hope the Tuatara are watching him, because if he can do this, even if they use him for just the one batter at times, the one hitter. Faienza Bishop, who's been brilliant as a catcher for Hauck Pakuranga today. Instrumental in throwing out Andrew Mark, who was trying to steal second earlier, which could have been a turning point, or certainly could have got the Wolves back in the game. Now the runner does look to try and go, but it will be a foul ball. So immediately Luke Hanson will have to come back to first base. Got a good jump though, and I'd imagine this is where a part-time pitcher like Duncan Isaacs perhaps doesn't have that experience, that ability to pick the runner off at first, possibly pick him off at second.
But he brings an infield mind into that position, so he's going to be well aware that there's a runner there on first base and try and control that. There we go. And that was a nice move for a part-time pitcher. That was a very nice move across to first.
And you'd expect the shortstop to have a very good, very accurate arm too.
Without a doubt, he'll throw strikes all day. Across to the first baseman.
This time, it is a ground ball. Brilliant piece of fielding, but it won't be enough. And suddenly runners on first and second. So a single there from Faienza Bishop, but you do have to feel a little bit for Nick Coe. Brilliant effort at second base. Just didn't quite manage to get the bounce his way. Didn't quite just sit up in the glove naturally and couldn't get it out and try and get the runner at first. But wonderful, wonderful intent.
I think it's actually, we've got pinky marks out there.
Pinky mark, now. My apologies, because Nick Coe's moved, hasn't he, with Duncan Isaacs coming into pitcher. Nick Coe's moved to shortstop and Andrew Mark has come into second base. So my apologies to you, Andrew. So high fly ball, and that out should be taken. The runners remain on first and second. And the first out in the top of the seventh. So Hauck Pakuranga. Just go back and have another look at the replay here. It seems you're never quite confident, are you, in both sides fielding? The centre fielder seems to be just struggling to pick it up a little bit. And I think that's because arguably the batter's got the wind behind them, but too, and I just wonder whether that sun's in their eyes or sometimes even just that foreground in front of them and just how that ball can get lost.
A number of variables off a wooden bat. The ball will move when up in the air.
This is a good little hit now. The rally's starting to come. They'll look to try and bring the runner home. And so Hauck Pakuranga will extend that lead. Will they? He is safe. So Luke Hanson extends the Hauck Pakuranga lead to 5 runs to nothing. Once again.
We'll see Randy Yard. Great shot down the third baseline through the gap out to left field. Left field looking to make that throw all the way in, unfortunately not as accurate.
So top of the 7th and another run to Hauck Pakuranga Hawks, just slowly tightening the screws. And for the first time, Duncan Isaacs just under a little bit of pressure. They're just starting to get a bit of a read on him. He's wanting to try and get himself out of this hole. Still runners on first and second. Got him swinging this time. Goes back to that default pitch of his. Just a little change up. Howick Pakuranga in control. This time, another solid hit, and you expect Howick Pakuranga to bring another runner home, possibly two. The throw comes in. The first runner scores, 6 runs to nothing. And now runners on first and third, runners on the corners. Some very good play this time from Blair Johnston.
Yeah, Blair looking to push the barrow there and get aggressive on the running paths.
Let's just have a look at the replay here.
Well driven by Johnson over second base head into the gap.
Got to say the Howick Pakuranga certainly got a good jump too, showing plenty of speed, showing plenty of explosive ability from base to base. And now some real pressure on Isaacs. At what point do they go to their bench? Can they go to their bench? Do they have the pitching depth? Always the gamble, you want to get through to the final, and that's first priority. But then what have you got left pitching-wise when you do get through to that final? And is that the difference today? The strategic play of Howick Pakuranga and saving Elliot Johnston. But he does get the inning, brings it to a close, but some damage has been done. Howick Pakuranga 6 runs to nothing as we head to the bottom of the 7th. The Bayside Wolves, what can they do? They need to rally. It needs to start now. 6 runs to nothing. Tough ask.
Yeah, I would say those last 2 runs in have certainly started to put another couple of nails in the coffin there for the Hawks, but I know Bayside won't give up, and they do have the batting lineup that if they happen to just get themselves a couple of runners on base, get a bit of confidence with the bat, that they certainly have the ability to come back from here, but it has to start now.
If you've just joined us, you are watching the United Airlines 2020 National Club Final in America's favourite pastime, the sport of baseball. It is the 5-time champions, the Howick Pakuranga Hawks, leading the Bayside Wolves 6 runs to nothing as we head to the bottom of the 7th. Andrew Mark, Pinky Mark, a superstar this season for the Auckland Tuatara, very much the leader of this Bayside Wolves team.
Some changes too here for Howick. It looks like Elliot Johnson's now gone, and Randy Yard from Counties, who was picked up by Howick this week, has come into pitch, and Aaron Campbell seems to have moved now from left field into the catcher's role, with possibly Fienza Bishop now moving out to third base. Just trying to pick up on all these
Possibly
changes.
Luke Hanson to second, is it?
Luke Hanson to second base. Just trying to pick up on...
Bear with us here because it becomes all a bit confusing. So let's just reinforce that. Aaron Campbell, who is feeling that left field, goes to catcher. Fienza Bishop moves to third base, who was catcher. Luke Hanson, who was third base, moves across to second base to replace Randy Yard, who was on the mound for Elliot Johnston. How did I go?
That's pretty good.
They told me to stay at school to study mathematics. I said, no, I'll never need it.
Yeah, we work, this is a game of numbers. We make all substitutional changes in the field by number. So Randy Yard was a position 4, started at second base and now moved on to the mound. Just trying to pick up to see who's out there at left field now for Howick Pakuranga, with Aaron Campbell moving into the catching role.
So Nick Coe will come into the batter's box for the Bayside Wolves. The good news is for Bayside Wolves fans, as they will then go back to the top of the order with Hiromi, Sone, Andrew Mark and Duncan Isaacs. Nick Coe desperate to try and get himself on base. He has an opportunity here to be patient with the new pitcher in Randy Yard. Yard will be nervous. He will take possibly a bit of time to settle here. And again, a swing that probably didn't need to be taken. Nick Coe needs to show a little bit more patience. Just to get himself on base. This time outside, so 1-1 now the count. That is better from Coe. Just see Yard there, just trying to settle down, try and stay relaxed. And Coe just pops that up, and the catch will be taken comfortably by the first baseman, which is Blair Johnston. So Johnston with the comfortable catch. 1 up, 1 down, so good start for Randy Yard.
Yeah, just a good pitch, moving away on the batter, low in the zone, forcing him to get underneath that, and just a slight pop-up. But Randy brings experience. I mean, this guy just has a maturity going through the minors with the Cincinnati Reds, a top pitcher out of the University of Hawaii, knows how to locate a ball.
So, Hiromi Sone, top of the order. Looks to bunt, tries to mix it up, tries to change it up. Looking to do something different. Foul ball, count will be 0-1. What do you make of that?
Yeah, no, I could see that was something that was on the cards. I mean, he's got the speed out of the box. He's got the eye for it. You know, mix it up a wee bit. They've got to try and get runners on base right now.
This time, he does get the single up through centre field. And so suddenly the runners, they do have a runner on base. So is this the moment for the Bayside Wolves? Is this the start of the rally?
As we talked about earlier, technique.
Mark Irwin alongside of me, bringing you all the expert analysis. Top of the order, Andrew Mark now batting second. Needs to go long, or needs to just at least try and advance the runner. And now they do to try and advance the runner. It'll be a good double play here. And that is a safe, in fact, at first base. They will argue, Johnston will argue at first base that he tagged, in fact, Andrew Mark. They certainly, I think, have the runner at second. But it should have been a fundamental double play. We'll have to have a look at this one. But Andrew Mark finds himself on first base. Give you a little moment of controversy. Elliot Johnston absolutely believes, in fact, not Elliot Johnston, Blair Johnston, Elliot Johnston's brother, thinks he got the tag at first. And so coming into the box now, it is Duncan Isaacs, who has also been pitching. Has a look at that first pitch, strike called. So Randy Yard.
Probably wasn't what Andrew was looking for, but no, Randy now just needs to come in with a bit of confidence. I think his maturity will shine through here. He'll know where to throw to this batter. He knows what Duncan brings to the game.
There is still life in this game. There is still just a little bit of hope for the Bayside Wolves, but they are running out of time. They trail by 6 runs to nothing. 2 outs. Andrew Mark on first. Aaron Campbell is the new catcher. And that move being made because clearly Campbell has probably worked with Randy Yard. And feels that that combination might be a better combination than Bishop, who was catcher for Elliot Johnston. Bishop has now moved to third base.
Possibly yesterday, as Randy was picked up by this.
And he gets a nice hit and a nice single. So Mark will move to second. Duncan Isaacs onto first base. Runners in scoring position. Henry Leaborn. Can he go long? Can he look to try and close this up? Make it a 3-run ball game? He's got the power, he's got the game to do it. There's a wild swing at that first pitch though.
I'm feeling this is the second or third time this game that they've had Leaborn up to bat with 2 runners on, but unfortunately at a 2-out count. So,
well, he needs to go long here, doesn't he? He just really needs to try and go long. Just put one out of the park. Just have the hero shot.
Is it Andrew Pinky Marks trying to sort of put the defensive side off out there from his lead at second base?
So Randy Yard. And it'll be a comfortable ground out to second base. And so Luke Hansen will bring the inning to a close. And once again, Still a shutout through 7. Pakuranga Hawks have been brilliant. They lead 6 runs to nothing as we head to the top of the 8th. And it is the Pakuranga Hawks up to bat next. Now, we have another national tournament on next week in Christchurch, Mark.
We certainly do. Travelling down myself, it's the under-19 men's nationals. We're really looking forward to it. It's the first time in the history of baseball nationals here in New Zealand that we've actually taken a national tournament out of Auckland. I know the Christchurch Baseball Association down there in Canterbury, they're excited to have us there. It's we're expecting some good weather like we've got here, but no, it's going to be good. We've got 7 teams entering the tournament. So
it's really important though, isn't it, that, you know, baseball, and I know the hardest challenge is getting facilities and trying to meet the demand, but you know, you see it. I like Johnny Homza, who played catcher for the Auckland Tuatara. Now he came out of Anchorage in Alaska. Now the fact that, you know, America have the ability to put scouts in every part of the United States because they know that talent can come from anywhere. I mean, Josh Colmenter came from a tiny town outside of Michigan. We need to be doing the same here, don't we? You know, the kid playing in Westport, the kid playing in Hokitika. Who's that superstar potentially coming out of Southland?
And this is the easiest way to do it, Mark, you know, because we've got the guys like the Chris Richards, the Dan Tans, the coaches that work for the national program on a full-time basis get the opportunity to leave town. Looks like we have
just
Nick Coe coming onto the mound.
Just going to say we're just changing pitching here. So Duncan Isaacs goes back to shortstop by the looks of it.
Yeah, Nick Coe moving out of shortstop. Might just be a straight 6-1, 1-6. I don't see too many other changes out there for the Wolves at the moment.
So Nick Coe, who was fielding at
shortstop,
originally started the game at second base, then moved to shortstop.
Yep.
Has then come back into, is now pitching, and Isaacs will go back to shortstop, meeting Andrew Mark still at second base. Now, if you are watching this live or the highlights package, and you are interested in getting the sport of baseball, there is a clear pathway now to professionalism with the Auckland Tuatara, but we've got 20-odd kids now, or young men playing in colleges in the United States, and at very least you're going to get a very, very good education out of it. Young Ayrton Lloyd, an example of a player now playing over in the States. I grew up with his father, actually lived right next door, Andrew Lloyd, heavily involved in the Auckland Association.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to coach Ayrton for a couple of seasons.
So Nick Coe. He's unorthodox in the way he throws too. And into the batting box it is Tui Amosa for Howard Pakuranga. They can unsettle a little bit, can't they, the unorthodox pitches? We saw that with Ryota for the Auckland Tuatara. Unbelievably unorthodox, but very, very effective for an inning or even 2 innings.
Yes, and I think we didn't expect anything less from Ryota, those of us that see him regularly in the Auckland Cope. I mean, he just brings that to the game. A special player. Young Tui Amosa, not quite sure of that call.
So 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nick Coe. Foul ball away. And almost up into our camera position, directly behind home plate. Might have just lost our camera behind the pitcher at the moment. This time, he gets plenty on that. And that will be another single, another hit. So that is very good from Amosa. That'll give the young man a lot of confidence. That is a key moment again, just turning to putting more pressure once again on the Speyside Wolves team, who have just really haven't had the answers to Elliot Johnston, just maybe just lacking a little bit in terms of pitching depth, because coming up now is Aaron Campbell. This time outside, as we look at that Campbell. Big ask for Nick Coe, a part-time pitcher. Third change from the Bayside Wolves. Angle there always just gives you an idea of just sort of the velocity that they're throwing at. And a guy like Nick Coe's not, you know, a renowned pitcher, and you still just get a sense of just how little time you've got as a hitter. Reinforces just how much ball does dominate the bat in this game. Little foul tip ball away, and that count will stay at 0-2.
Still great seeing the energy there from Leaborn out of there. Bayside still showing a lot of energy, not giving up yet.
Well, we've seen a lot happen in sport, haven't we, over the years? I mean, who would have thought Liverpool Football Club could beat AC Milan after trailing 3-0 at half-time in a European Cup back in 2005, one of the great comebacks. And sport is about that. It's about heroes, it's about moments. So one of the great walk-off moments for the Tuatara with Kim in early December. Moments in the short history of that club. Now we're down trailing 4-1 in that game. And now the runner will look to try and steal. And just the batter this time takes one to the head. And so they'll have runners on suddenly first and second now. With the automatic walk. Let's just have a look at that again. You can't really blame Nick here. Doesn't have a lot of time on the mound. Certainly no intent in that. So Nick Coe, just trying to settle down a little bit. Henry Leaborn just saying, hey, look, just don't overthink this. And we just go back and have a look here. Just taking one to the head, never a nice thing to see in the sport of baseball, is it?
No, it's not. And knowing Nick personally, there was no malice meant in that at all. I think he's just lost control of that pitch.
So Nick Coe, third pitching change for the Bayside Wolves. He's got himself in a little bit of a hole here. Runners on first and second. They trail 6 runs to nothing and immediately trying to pick the runner off at second. That's good from Coe, but that's the experience and that's the arm that you expect from the infielders. And Coe started today's game at second base. So he knows what he's looking for. Elliot Johnston, though, who's been brilliant as a pitcher, still in the game as a hitter. Takes up the role now as a DH. He just needs to go at him. No one's expecting Elliot Johnston to hit a home run. So 1-0 the count. 1 ball, no strikes. This time, Johnston swings, foul ball away, 1-1 the count. This time it should be an RBI down the left field line. One runner will come home, and Howard Pakuranga through an RBI single from Elliot Johnston will extend that lead to 7 runs to nothing. Well, Elliot Johnston not only brilliant with the ball on the pitching mound today, but he shows he can hit as well. A lovely little RBI single. Let's just have a look at the replay here of Elliot Johnston. Big moment for him, contributing offensively with the bat.
Over that ball well, driven down the left field line.
Runs a beautiful angle too.
With some good power.
And it doesn't get any easier.
Bringing sorts of things for Elliot Johnson.
Because Luke Hanson, top of the order for Howick Pakuranga, 7 runs to nothing.
I think Thomas Ryan now on first base for the Hawks.
That's a better pitch from Cope. Doesn't get the strike though from Weschler. But still runners on first and second. They are 2 outs though. Nice little curveball on the inside, but ball low. 2-0. So Coe finds himself behind on the count. That's better, but strike not given again. We talked about that zone from Josh Weschler. Just a little bit too high for his likings. The bases are suddenly loaded. No outs, top of the 8th. What do they do? How do they get themselves out of this? It's a simple case of bat on ball here, rely on your outfield.
Not having to do anything silly with no outs, looking to just push that single through, score runs individually. No need to take the big shot right now.
Okay, but let's talk about the bayside rules. What does Coe do here? He's clearly a part-time pitcher. He's somewhat struggling. I'm not sure they've got a lot of options to go to. Do you just rely on your field here? Look for those pitches, look for that double play.
That's all he can rely on right now.
It's better, and pops that ball up. And that might just be the first out of the inning. The catch will be taken comfortably at shortstop by Duncan Isaacs.
Called infield fly by second base umpire Mike Smith.
Just get you to explain that. We saw that happen a couple of times throughout the Tuatara season. So just the terminology you used.
With the infield fly, what that's telling is runners on first or second with less than 2 away. What it does is it takes away the opportunity for the player to let the ball drop in front and make the double play. So by calling the infield fly immediately, the batter's automatically out.
Okay. And that is a foul ball away. Desperate calls to try and catch that. And Grim Ledger there at third base, looking to try and see if he could catch that foul ball. We just have another look here. Look at the urgency. That's how desperate they are to try and get this out. Game of inches once again though. And now Chris Richards, the man who scored the 3-run homer, who really turned this game on its head in the top of the 3rd, back into bat. He looks to try and go long again this time. It's almost a repeat of the previous pitch. However, it is still a foul ball. Chris Richards earlier today winning the home run competition that was played prior to this. Time inside, ball called. 1 and 2 now the count. So 1 ball, 2 strikes. Oh, that gets well and truly away from Nick Coe.
I think right now Nick's just got to look to calm down and play catch and try and let his field do the work. Not overthink this right now.
Chris Richards just again, a long ball down that left field line, just pulls it into foul territory. He just looks dangerous though, doesn't he? You just sort of sense that another chapter by Chris Richards is still yet to be written. This time Chris Richards, it is a single through to the right field, and another runner will score, and bases remain loaded. In fact, 2 runners will score. So 2 runners scored, and it is now 9 runs to nothing. And it is pretty much game, set, and match at this point in the game. Runners now suddenly on first and second. So Nick Coe, 3rd pitcher used, really struggling. That's a better comeback. Strike given. So just the one out. We talked about Chris Richards in terms of writing yet another chapter. He delivered again with another two RBI single. And this time the catch will bring another runner home. And they look to try and pick the runner off at second. So they get the runner at second, but the runner does score. So Howick Pakuranga go out to 10 runs to nothing. And I guess the only bit of good news for the Bayside Wolves is they did manage to pick the runner at second. And so now 2 outs. So it's Chris Richards, looks to try and get back. Just gets himself a little bit off balance. And so I'm not really sure whether it's good news or bad news. That Cal will be happy that he's got the second out. And that time the innings will come to a close, but it's yet again be another very effective inning for Howick Pakuranga. 4 more runs, leading now 10 runs to nothing as we head to the bottom of the 8th. The Wolves, well, they've only really got 2 opportunities left if they are to win this game. What do you do, Mark Irwin?
A lot of work with 6 outs.
Let's just have another look at the replay here. And that is Blair Johnston.
Right now there seems to be a lot more freedom in the way that the Howick Pakuranga Hawks are swinging the bat with a 10-run lead. But, you know, you can see as there by the picture, the Bayside Wolves are consolidated, getting together, trying to figure out, you know, with 6 outs left in this game for them, what they need to do and how they're going to do it.
Yeah, a lot of talking going on from the Bayside Wolves too. From their catcher, Henry Leaborn. Very animated, very passionate.
Henry was lucky enough to work alongside with Jerry Lakeo with the Tuatara this year in the bullpen for the Tuatara, giving him a lot more experience.
Yeah, look, I think just being in and around that Tuatara team, you know, I was lucky enough as a commentator to sort of get behind the scenes. It's a very small organisation, very privileged. You know, I just, you just want to become a better commentator. You want to understand the game. You want to do these guys justice. And then I think that just right across the whole team, these young guys, just those little moments, just, you know, that ability to listen. It might just be one thing that's said, one thing that resonates with you. You know, a lot of stuff that is said goes in one ear and out the other. But just those little things that stick with you, just that one comment, and it can just make that difference.
I was lucky enough to see the professionalism of Mincy very early on. I got to work with himself and Jonathan Southey when we did the Weekend of Dreams, the first year of the Tuatara, looking for the development boys. And you could just see straight away he was going to bring something to the program that was going to be really good for New Zealand baseball.
So Randy Yard, just the second pitcher used from the Howick Pakuranga Hawks. He's back doing what he does, and immediately it is a foul ball away into foul territory. No chance of a catch being taken there. And so John Lee is the batter for the Bayside Wolves. Yes, very much the Tuatara audience, the sort of Tuatara team. It was very much my sort of impression. No time for fools at all in there. You know, look, you live up to the highest standards. You don't force good guys to sort of lower standards, and I think that's really important in any team.
And the ABL's got a very, very strong reputation as far as a professional league goes within the system. So to be part of that, you want to ensure that everything you're doing is spot on.
If Josh Colmenter, Jared Walker, Josh Morgan are setting the standard, you live up to that. You live to their level. You don't sort of force them to lower their standards because you're a little bit slack. You know, I think it's 1 and 2 is the count. Get some swinging. And that is another out. So just 5 outs away now for Howick Pakuranga to win their 6th national title. And it will be Vince Stephanie, who started the day as designated hitter. And has found himself now playing in right field due to a number of the pitching changes. Due to the fact that we've seen a number of pitching changes for the Bayside Wolves.
He's a very confident batter as Vince, and he's known as a good hitter throughout the local league.
Yard just struggling a little bit to dial in here in the bottom of the 8th. It's better. Straight down Broadway, strike every day of the week. And so that count now, 2 balls, 1 strike. Get some swinging.
It's a great location there by Yard with that pitch.
So now 2-2 the count. He's happy with what he's seen from Aaron Campbell, catcher. Aaron Campbell coming in to catch Faenza Bishop, moving across to third base. Is that simply the relationship that Campbell might have with Randy Johnson?
No, not at all. I think Faenza's a pickup player for the Howick Hawks this week too. He's not in their regular club squad as Randy's in my club squad at Counties. They've just been picked up for this tournament. Aaron has caught a number of games for Howick this year in the regular season, Campbell. And they have another couple of young catchers within their organisation that work for them on a weekly basis.
It's such a strategic game, isn't it? There's so many different plays that are played out throughout a season, throughout a game. And I hope you're enjoying the coverage. And again, special thanks to Mark Irwin, bringing you the expert analysis. And good news for Howick Pakuranga. They are just 4 outs away from winning another national title. As we see Ingram Ledger come in, just a young man with a big future.
It's pleasing to see Bayside keep confidence with this young man all the way through.
Well, I think sometimes it's a mistake teams make. We've seen it, I think, a lot with Blues rugby. Or we get a first 5, well, okay, it's bad games, and we drop them. We have a couple of bad games where we drop them. Well, they're not going to learn if you keep dropping them. Sometimes they're good players. They just need to get comfortable in the environment. They just need time.
100%.
And that is another strike, and that is 3 up, 3 down. So outstanding from Randy Yard. It is all over. It is all over. It is all over. So Howick Pakuranga have won their 6th national title in absolutely convincing fashion, winning 10 runs to nothing. Look at the celebration. Look at the moment.
That finished a bit early there on the 10-run rule, but well deserved by Howick Pakuranga.
Well, simply magnificent. And so congratulations does need to go to the team of Luke Hanson, Faenza Bishop, Chris Richards, Randy Yard, Blair Johnston, Keegan Swanepoel, Tui Amosa, Aaron Campbell, Elliot Johnston, who was just simply magnificent, Nate McDonald, Jaden Hammond, Robert Brook, John O'Follett, Aaron Mitchell, Thomas Ryan, and Brendan Jones, and all of the coaching staff. Elliot Johnston, well, a shutout through 7 innings. Absolutely brilliant. Really was the difference today between the two teams. The class of Elliot Johnston. We saw it throughout the Tuatara, and we've seen it in this domestic season.
We certainly haven't, and he's brought his game today. He's brought his A game today.
Right, we will go pitch side very shortly and grab a couple of interviews for you. But at the moment, let's just enjoy the celebrations. You've got to feel a little bit for the Bayside Wolves, but they will be better for it. They will go away and go, look, we need to make sure we've got possibly a little bit more depth in our pitching ranks. What a moment for moment, so we'll get Mark Irwin to go down pitch side and grab a couple of interviews for us, talk to the winning captains, talk to the winning players. John Follett there, former head of the Sky Network himself, was manager when this Howick Pakuranga club won 5 championships. But plenty of solidarity, plenty of companionship, and plenty of respect for both teams. And Howick Pakuranga now will come across and shake the hands of Bayside Wolves, who probably came into this final as the favourites. but when it counted, they came up maybe just a little bit short. And Johnny Southey gets the traditional Gatorade, one of the real personalities of New Zealand baseball, one of New Zealand's leading coaches and managers, first base coach for the Auckland Tuatara. And now going over and acknowledging their local supporters, a group of dedicated, loyal fans, who are a big part of the reason why baseball is thriving in this country, a big part of the reason why the Auckland Tuatara were established. Howick Pakuranga win their 6th. Elliot Johnston just simply superb. At what point does a major league club pick him up? He could arguably become the first New Zealander who to come through the age group ranks, in my opinion, to possibly make the major leagues. Wouldn't that be great for the sport in this country? So we are just waiting to get some comment from the manager, Johnny Southey. We've got up Mark Irwin there with Andrew Mark by the looks of it. So we are just waiting to get a camera there, and we will bring you reaction from both camps. Chris Richards, what a year he's had. Key moment for the Tuatara with one of the great outfield catches, and then a home run, a 3-run home run to turn this game on its head in the top of the 3rd. Elliot Johnston signing some autographs. He's a different player than he was 18 months ago. Arguably the part that might have been missing from his game was work ethic. But DJ Carrasco, the pitching coach, Steve Mintz for the Tuatara, said, hey, we believe in you. This is what you need to do. He's followed those instructions. What a player. What a moment. A shutout for him through 6 innings. Equally, 2 Randy Yard came in and was simply brilliant. Faenza Bishop as catcher. How good was he today defensively? Thrown at Andrew Mark at a key point in the game when you just sort of sense that possibly the Bayside Wolves were beginning to rally. For the Bayside Wolves, one of their real standouts, their designated hitter, Vince Stephanie. I hope you have enjoyed the coverage. Don't go away. We will bring you those interviews, get some reaction very shortly. Beautiful day here in Auckland. Some great skills on display today. But again, the sport just emphasising how much ball does dominate the bat and how important it is to have your pitching depth, to have your pitching rotation. And to have your pitcher dialed in the key moments. Well, let's now go pitch side with Mark Irwin and get reaction from Andrew Pinky Marks.
Hi guys, I'm here with Andrew Pinky Marks, losing captain of the Bayside Wolves. Andrew, your take on today's game, please.
Howick's a good team and they played really well today. Elliot Johnston, obviously one of the best pitchers in the whole country, came out and showed us that he's ready to go for the New Zealand team next week. And huge congratulations to Howick Pakuranga. I know they worked really hard for it, and it's a tough loss for the boys. We wanted to win, and we thought we were in a pretty good position. At the start of the game, we'd rested a couple of our best pitchers, and so we thought we liked our chances, and just didn't work out today.
On paper, a very strong batting lineup, but they just didn't seem to get a hold of that ball today and put the ball in play to get your runners on base. sort of feel it was the end of a long week and everything was sort of coming to an end?
Yeah, I know. I guess again, it's just baseball. Sometimes you go up against a good pitcher, and I actually thought we actually hit the balls pretty well today. There was a few catches that they made when we actually stung up pretty well, and they had a lot that dropped in there, and we hit. So. Yeah.
All good, and just a congratulations to you, mate, for a fantastic season and for what you do for the game all the way through from the Tuatara, and good luck, eh?
No worries, thanks. Good job, Mark Watson, as well. He's obviously the best commentator in the business.
Well, what a wonderful ambassador he has been for the sport, Andrew Mark. You've got to sort of sense that he still has some unfinished business. He'll be disappointed with the way his team played in this final, but he'll also understand the masterclass that was Elliot Johnston on the mound for Howick Pakuranga. Well, Howick Pakuranga, congratulations to them. They are the United Airlines 2020 National Club Baseball Final champions. And just before we do go, we will go get some reaction from our championship team. Mark Irwin is standing alongside Jonathan Southey, the manager for Howick Pakuranga.
Measure of that today for you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, credit, the old cliche goes is that it's credit to Bayside. They're a really good team, and it was probably unfortunate for them that Connor Perry went off a little bit earlier than what he should have, which left the door open a little bit. But Elliot was on his A game today. The best thing about it was he wanted the baseball. Told me last night he wanted it, and he wanted the opportunity to put us in the best position to win, and I think he did that today very well.
Agreed. Aaron, yourself today started out in left field, moved into catch. Did you find Randy a wee bit more confident for you, or was it just a positional change that?
Oh, we had a game plan going into the day of if everything worked out the way that we thought it would and should. That was part of our plan. So Elliot executed early for us. We scored some runs early, which really gave us the opportunity to be flexible late in the game, get some of our better defensive players in their preferred spots to make tougher outs and put them under a little bit more pressure. So we played to our game plan, and it all worked out for us.
I think on paper, we looked at it before the game. It could have gone either way. Any team could have had that today on their day. I think today was definitely your day, and it was well deserved. 6 national championships now for the Howick Pakuranga Hawks. What was it like doing it at home on a day like today?
Yeah, it was good to get on top. It's been a few years coming. I think it's 4 years we haven't won since. So, and that's probably when I got together with Aaron at the beginning of the season to take this job on. It was like, hey man, let's get back to the top. Let's get back to where HP should be. And that was our main focus, was this tournament here. And yeah, I'm stoked that we got to achieve that and we came away with the goods.
Well done, guys. It was a fantastic game to call and to watch, and all the best and congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Aaron.
Thank you.
Well, there it is, the thoughts of the championship winning team. Aaron Campbell, who started the fit day at left field, ended up being catcher by the end of it when Randy Yard took over from Elliot Johnston. A very happy Jonathan Southey. Congratulations again go to Howick Pakuranga. Simply brilliant. A Chris Richards 3-run home run in the top of the third, turning the momentum of this game. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage. It's been a privilege and a pleasure. The sport of baseball is well and truly alive in this country. Check out Baseball New Zealand's website. Settle in, train hard over winter, do all the supplementary work. We look forward to bringing you all of the coverage over the 2020-2021 season. We've still got the national team coming up, playing overseas very shortly in the month of April. On behalf of myself and Mark Irwin, it's been a privilege and a pleasure. Good afternoon.